What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and I'm starting here because Luca caused a blooper. Nevertheless, we are going to begin a new musical journey, which has been waiting in the wings not quite as long as some other deep dives or compilations that I've been going through, but definitely waiting for a little bit. And I want to start by giving a major shout out to Yvonne, great friend of the channel, who not only has shared a great bunch of music with me and sent me the This is Spinal Tap DVD that I went through on my Patreon a while ago, but who has also been a supporter on Patreon for a while and recently increased her support, her subscription. So I wanted to give a big shout out to you, and it seemed like a very good time to start going through Gordon Lightfoot. A name I've known for a while, though the original source of me learning about this name is, of course, a bit comedic, which is to say, people who follow my channel and have heard me talk about things going back a couple of years now will be aware that I'm a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, and there's an episode of that show which actually was out of syndication for a long time because the person who directed the movie that is the experiment of the episode eventually engaged in legal action to prevent the episode from being shown, but in more recent years, I think only a couple years ago, he relented, and now it's back as part of the catalog of MST3K, and that is The Final Sacrifice, a movie entirely shot and produced in Canada. Now, like with most of the other MST3K movies, it's a very low-budget film, and there's plenty of things to laugh about, but I'm especially sympathetic to it because there is some level of storytelling and screenwriting that I think is admirable, and also just because I think it's one of the very funniest episodes of MST3K. And one of the jokes in that episode, when they get into a truck, someone says, I forget exactly what the joke is, but one of the riffers says something to the effect of, oh, pop in some Gordon Lightfoot and let's go. And I sort of registered that name. It's, a memorable name. Lightfoot is a very interesting surname, and, it's just a name like Olympia Dukakis or something. Like, when you first hear it, it doesn't sound like John Smith or Brian Taylor or something where, there's probably a million people with that name. I'm guessing there's not all that many Gordon Lightfoots out there. So many years later, I came across that name again. And so when Yvonne mentioned him to me, it was a name that sort of rung or struck a distant chord, but not someone whose music I really know. Now, my understanding is that Mr. Lightfoot was a folk music icon within Canadian music and also internationally, but again, I think he's not unlike, in one respect, the Tragically Hip, in terms of him being a notable Canadian icon within music. Now, I think musically it's probably going to be at least somewhat different from Tragically Hip, but ultimately my understanding, to the limited degree I have it going into this greatest hits compilation that Yvonne has provided, is that he is in the folk music category more generally. So, yes, the first track on the compilation is Early Morning Rain, which sets a nice visual and atmospheric image. The idea of the sun coming over the horizon, maybe that magic hour light where things are a bit softer and warmer in terms of the way the sun is hitting everything, but of course with a sense of a rain shower. So yeah, it makes me think of a tranquil and peaceful environment, and of course, it may not be the greatest thing to get rained on, though if it's not too heavy, that can be fine as well. But it makes me think of sitting on a front porch, looking out at a garden or a rural landscape, and watching a light pattering rain come down as, again, maybe a partly cloudy sky is very notable on the horizon. So that's the image I have going into it. Now, of course, it could just be a backdrop, and the story might be less tranquil, or it might be more complicated emotionally than the warm feeling it gives me looking at the title. But that's where my brain goes with it. Let's get it started. This is the first track on a greatest hits compilation from Gordon Lightfoot, which is called his Complete Greatest Hits. And I want to see, I guess the Complete Greatest Hits was released in 2002. Let me just briefly check the metadata. Yeah, it just gives the date for the overall compilation, but I'm guessing this song was recorded before that. In any case, here we go. This is Early Morning Rain by Gordon Lightfoot.
In the early rain with $1 in my hand, with an aching in my heart, and my pockets full of sand. I'm a long way from home, and I miss my loved ones so. In the early morning rain, with no place to go, out on runway number 9, big 707 set to go. But I'm stuck here in the grass, where the cold wind blows. Now the liquor tasted good, and the women all were fast. Well, there she goes, my friend. Well, she's rolling down at last. Hear the mighty engines roar, see the silver bird on high. She's away and westward bound, far above the clouds she'll fly, where the morning rain don't fall and the sun always shines. She'll be flying over my home in about 3 hours' time. This old airport's got me down, it's no earthly good to me, 'cause I'm stuck here on the ground, as cold and drunk as I can be. You can't jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on the way in the early morning rain. You can't jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on the way in the early morning rain.
Wonderful. That was more or less sort of the atmosphere I expected. A bit of that guitar poetry, some nice vocals, and some lyrics that speak to an everyman kind of perception and feeling, and also some funny lines built into that, which is to say, it was more of a bustling setting than maybe I expected. We are at an airport where perhaps international flights are taking off, but a lot of the themes that you get with folk and even country music, the idea of, feeling like you're not in a good way, or the world's against you, or you're not where you'd want to be, your loved ones are far away, you can't get to them. A lot of those sentiments are here, and the idea of not being able to get on a plane, and not only that, not being able to hitch a ride on one in the same way that you can a freight train, which I feel like that kind of imagery and concept is very much something that is a staple of folk music, no matter where you go, surely. I feel like that's a nice, what's the word, extrapolation of the, let's say, more traditional folk concept, but then again, talking about a jumbo jet and not being able to do that, and being grounded, which of course, here on the ground, but also grounded meaning when a plane can't take off, and if you're a person, you can't take off with the plane. And seeing the rain, talking about grass, but also alcohol, and sort of feeling melancholic and being drunk and not being able to fulfill that longing or that sense of location and desire that he seemingly has. I think it's all very much in the vein that I perhaps expected, though I do, of course, enjoy hearing that in substance, meaning getting a sense for what his voice is going to sound like, his guitar playing, which I liked it. It was smooth and calm, but there are moments where it got a bit more forte, for lack of a better word, and a bit more energetic. So clearly there's an energy to his guitar playing. But yes, it sounds, again, like maybe a Canadian Bob Dylan is the vibe that I got, which is a very good thing. I don't know all that much about Dylan, but my dad's a fan, so over the years I've heard some of his songs, so if that is more or less the flavor that I can expect on other tunes, and of course I do expect some variety, no doubt, but yes, I'm thinking this is going to be a very fun journey, so yeah, looking forward to more, curious to hear from Yvonne or anyone else who knows Gordon Lightfoot's work about this song or his career or this compilation, anything you may have, and obviously we'll have plenty of songs to go through and to discuss such subjects. But yes, once again, thank you to Yvonne for the music, for the support on Patreon, and thank you to anyone else who may take part in this journey. In the moment, I'm forgetting exactly how many tracks are in this compilation. Did you notice, by the way, when I laughed at that line about him being drunk, Luca got startled for a second and sort of jerked in the lap? That was very amusing. I was not prepared for that. So there's 20 tracks overall, and oh man, just looking at some of these titles, it really feels like like Carefree Highway, Rainy Day People, Restless, Sundown, and Cotton Jenny, Summerside of Life, Bitter Green. These all Canadian Railroad Trilogy. I love that one. So yeah. Oh, The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald. I think I talked to Yvonne like when we first discussed Gordon Lightfoot a while back. I think that track came up. I might even have talked to my old techno friend David, who again I haven't seen for a while. Hopefully he's still out there somewhere. But yeah, I think we talked about that track a little bit too. So that one I'm thinking is maybe one of his more famous tracks. Either way, it's on here. It's number 14, so we probably won't get to it for a while, but I'm looking forward to all this. When we come back the next time, it'll be For Lovin' Me, and lovin' is with an apostrophe rather than a G, so we'll see what that's all about. Let me know what you think of this, and I will see you next time. Peace.